You know that feeling when someone asks why you ride what you ride? And the answer that comes out isn't really an answer. It's a shrug. I just like it. But that's not true, is it? Something decided for you long before you ever sat on that seat. Sport bike or cruiser, it looks like a shopping decision. Horsepower, seat height, price tag, but it's not. It never was. Here's what nobody says out loud. The bike you're drawn to is a mirror. And once you see what it's reflecting, you can't unsee it. This isn't about which bike is faster or which one looks better in the driveway. This is about something underneath the spec sheet entirely. The part of you that decided, before logic got involved, which kind of ride actually feels like living. So today, we're breaking down what actually separates a sport bike rider from a cruiser rider. Not the specs, the wiring underneath. Why does leaning into a corner at speed feel like the entire point of being alive if you're built a certain way? Here's what's happening under the surface. A sport bike demands total presence. Your body low, your eyes already 3 seconds ahead, your hands making corrections your brain hasn't consciously caught up to yet. There is no room for anything else. Not your inbox, not your argument from this morning. Nothing. Psychologists call this state high-demand flow, a mental condition that only activates when a task requires near-total cognitive load, not relaxation, absorption. The brain doesn't get to wander because wandering gets you hurt. People drawn to this state tend to score high on something researchers call sensation-seeking with structure, the craving for intensity, but only within tight, self-imposed control. It's not recklessness, it's the opposite. It's needing risk to feel real, but needing your own skill to be the only thing standing between you and the consequence. That's the sport bike rider's secret. It was never about speed. It was about proof. Proof that you can hold it together when everything is moving that fast. Notice what this actually requires. Total commitment to the moment you're in. You can't half lean into a corner. You can't half trust your front tire at 40 degrees. Sport bike riders live inside decisions that don't allow hesitation. And over time, that rewires how they handle pressure everywhere else in life too. Ask one how they handle a crisis at work. Chances are they go quiet, get precise, and move. That's not a coincidence. That's the corner talking. Now flip it, because the cruiser rider is running a completely different and arguably harder to master psychological program. Ask a cruiser rider why they ride, and you'll rarely hear, "for the adrenaline." You'll hear something closer to, "it's the only time my head goes quiet." That's not a lesser answer. It's a different destination entirely. Where the sport bike floods the nervous system with input, the cruiser strips it away. Feet forward, torso open, low revs, wide bars. The bike is built to remove urgency, not create it. Researchers studying meditative movement, the state achieved through repetitive, low-demand physical tasks, found it produces something sport bikes structurally cannot: sustained parasympathetic activation. In plain terms, the rest and restore side of your nervous system switched fully on for hours. Cruiser riders aren't slower thinkers or less skilled riders, and it's worth killing that stereotype right here. They're running a nervous system that's optimized for presence over performance, for depth over intensity. Riding a cruiser well at the speeds and distances long-haul riders actually cover takes a patience and body control that sport bike riders often underestimate until they try it themselves. This is the part that gets missed constantly. Cruiser culture built the entire modern idea of the open road, the rumble, the low seat, the just you and the horizon image everyone borrows for vacations and album covers. That's cruiser DNA. Respect where it's actually due. And here's something sport bike riders rarely admit. Holding a 600-pound cruiser dead steady at highway speed for 8 hours, through crosswinds, through fatigue, through boredom that would break most riders, takes a different kind of discipline. Not reflexes, endurance. The ability to stay fully present in a task with almost nothing happening is arguably harder than staying present in a task with everything happening. Cruiser riders mastered the harder version of patience a long time ago. Let me make this real. Dave was 44, riding sport bikes exclusively for almost 2 decades, knee pucks worn through twice. He genuinely couldn't understand cruiser guys. "Why own a motorcycle you can't push?" he used to say. Then a knee injury sidelined him for 8 months. A friend loaned him an old cruiser just to keep him riding something. He hated it for the first 20 miles. No urgency, no corners worth calling corners. The bars were too wide, the pegs felt wrong, and he genuinely almost turned around and parked it in the garage for good. Then, somewhere past mile 30, his shoulders dropped for the first time in years. He wasn't chasing an apex, he was just moving. He described it later as the first ride where his brain actually stopped narrating. He still rides sport bikes. Track days haven't stopped. But he owns a cruiser now too, and he stopped pretending one bike can do both jobs. They were never competing for the same thing. This is where most videos like this one go wrong, so let's fix it. Sport bike culture loves to paint cruisers as slow, and cruiser culture loves to paint sport bikes as reckless. Both are lazy takes, and both miss what's actually going on. A cruiser isn't a bike for people who can't handle a sport bike any more than a sport bike is a toy for people who can't sit still. They're built for two entirely different nervous system needs, both legitimate, both demanding real skill in their own direction. Counter-steering a leader bike through a canyon at speed and holding a heavy cruiser steady and smooth for 600 miles are not the same skill, and neither one is the easy version. Psychologists studying personal identity in material objects found that people don't just use vehicles, they extend their sense of self into them. That means the bike you chose isn't revealing a flaw or superiority, it's revealing which version of in control actually feels like you. Think about what a cruiser actually asks of its rider before you dismiss it. Reading traffic 5 moves ahead because stopping fast isn't really an option. Managing a machine that rewards smoothness and punishes impatience. That's not the absence of skill. That's a completely different skill set, built for a completely different kind of mastery. The rider who can hold a cruiser through a long, wide sweeper without a single jerky input is doing something a sport bike rider, used to sharp inputs and quick corrections, often can't replicate on the first try. Here's something worth naming. For the sport bike rider, it's the exit of a corner, throttle rolling on, everything you did in the entry finally paying off in one clean release. That half second is the entire reason you ride. For the cruiser rider, it's mile 40 on an empty back road, engine settled into a rhythm, mind finally quiet, nowhere you'd rather be and nowhere you're rushing to. That stretch is the entire reason you ride. Neither moment is better, they're not even competing. One is a peak, the other is a plateau you get to live inside for hours. Chasing the wrong one on the wrong bike is exactly why people burn out on motorcycles they never should have bought in the first place. It's also why so many riders quietly own both and stop apologizing for it. Here's what separates people who love riding from people who just own a motorcycle. The ones who love it stopped asking which bike is objectively better a long time ago. Your nervous system already knows what it needs. Some people need controlled intensity to feel like themselves. Some people need low-demand rhythm to come back to themselves. Neither need is wrong, and neither one makes you more or less of a real rider. What the bike actually tells you is simpler than people want to admit. It tells you whether you process the world through sharp focus or through open space, whether you find yourself by pushing hard against a moment or by letting a long one carry you. This is why the which is better debate never actually ends. It's not a debate about machines, it's two different nervous systems arguing past each other, each one certain their version of freedom is the real one. Both are right. That's the part the comment section never wants to hear. So what does it actually say about you, sport bike or cruiser? It says you already know on some level what your mind needs to settle, whether you find that through total focus at speed or total release at a slower one. Neither answer is the interesting part. The interesting part is that you never really chose. It picked you first. Next time someone asks why you ride what you ride, you don't owe them "I just like it" anymore. You know the real answer now. What's your bike telling you? Drop it in the comments. And if this hit close to home, subscribe. New videos every week.